On Point Politics has conducted their first national poll, which makes us a pollster for the very first time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics. And today I'm going to be talking about the snap poll results from our first national poll after the presidential debate and what this means for 2024. And so we see right now Donald Trump is up 3 points in a head to head matchup. This was a poll of about 600 registered voters, which I know is a pretty low sample size. But what we did to account for this is we sampled back to 2020, and I'm actually going to get to that in a second. So I had 3 points in a head to head. And in the six-way race, Trump's up by 6 percentage points in the head to head matchup for president. And we see here that about 67% of the electorate was white, 14% Hispanic, 13% African American, 3% other, 3% Asian, 52 to 48 female to male, college educated, which essentially was like 60 to 40, 18 to 29, 17, 30 to 44, 22%, 45 to 64, 38% of the electorate, and 65 plus 23%. So when we break down the crosstabs for this national poll, what's quite interesting is that you'll see that Donald Trump is getting like 28% of the African American vote. Again, low sample size, but still doing fairly well. Hispanics, he's getting about 45%. Joe Biden is at like 32% of the Hispanic vote in this poll. So this was a bad night for Joe Biden. And we do see major shifts in the electorate. Like Donald Trump literally won Asians by 30 points. Now, there's only about 16 Asian voters in this poll, so there could definitely be room for margin of error. However, this was conducted post-debate, and a lot of people did not have the best reactions to the incumbent president. We look at, who won the first debate. We see it right here. Donald Trump won this question by 16 percentage points, and we can actually break it down. We could break it down by basically by race. We see that 54% of Asians thought Trump won the debate. We see African Americans, only 44% of them thought that Biden won the debate, which is crazy. We see Hispanics, about 38% of them thought he won it. What's quite funny is that they actually didn't even watch it. A majority of the plurality didn't even watch the debate, which is interesting. And we look at other, that's roughly a tie. And then white voters, Trump won with that category by a pretty decent amount. And we see here that if you actually look at this, we can do it by party. We see that Donald Trump, independents thought he won the debate like by 39 points. Like it wasn't even close. He absolutely decimated the debate amongst independents. If we look at Republicans, he won there by pretty much like 60 points, essentially, or 70 points actually. And with Democrats, even 17% of Democrats say that Donald Trump actually won the presidential debate. So this was a bad night for Joe Biden yesterday. And we break it down by party. We see Donald Trump wins independents by like 23 points in a head to head, and he's winning them by like pretty much 21 points in the six-way race. He keeps most of the Republican base. Biden can't even keep over 70% of Democrats in a six-way race, and he only keeps about 76% of them in a head to head matchup. So this is a horrible night for Joe Biden. Extremely bad for Joe Biden as of right now. Donald Trump won the debate question very easily. Funny enough, the independent group was the one who was least likely to actually watch the debate, and Hispanics didn't even watch the debate the most according to this. And what's quite interesting is that we pulled back to the 2020 presidential election to be able to see what 2020 sample we're actually working with. And when you do the math, Biden leads by 5.4 percentage points in 2020 according to this. And we see that 18 to 29 year olds for some reason were tied, which I'm going to get to the corrections in a second to show you what the modeling ended up looking like for this poll. However, when we break it down, we see that Donald Trump is quite ahead in this national survey. He is very ahead because what we did essentially is you pretty much break it down by demographics. So you get our poll margin, you look at our sample, and then from 2020, and then you look at the exit poll for this. You look at the exit poll survey, and we look at the adjusted error. So essentially, this was the actual exit polls that came out of New York Times / Siena College, and we actually see the adjusted error for every single group, and then we basically get it here. So this is the head-to-head demographics. This over here is the six-way demographics. We see that Donald Trump basically performs better with every single demographic when you include third-party candidates. I think the only group he actually does worse with is with senior voters and Hispanic voters for some reason, which is really interesting when you do this six-way race, which is kind of funny. I don't know why that happens. Or no, actually, it's literally just Hispanic voters, which is really strange. And these are the crosstabs we get. Now, what's interesting is that this poll has Donald Trump winning Asians by 53 points, which sounds ridiculous. But what we do is essentially we use the 538 model, where you plug in demographics, and we do one map for the race, one map for age, one map for education, and one map for gender. And when you model it out, Donald Trump is winning the Electoral College 347 electoral votes to Biden's 191 Electoral College votes as of right now. This is the modeling that you get from the 2024 presidential election when you adjust for an error from 2020, which helps the sample be more clear. Those are the demographic margins you get. And I'm actually going to break down the demographic margins right now. Biden wins 18 to 29-year-olds by 7 points according to our pollster. Donald Trump wins 30 to 44-year-old voters by 11 points, 45 to 64 by 8, and plus 65 by 9 points. Trump wins college-educated voters by 5 percentage points in this poll. He wins them by 5 points. Non-college by 9 percentage points. Men by 19. Women by just 5 points. Whites by 18. African Americans, Biden's only winning them by 46 points. Biden only wins women by 5. Hispanic voters, Biden wins those by 9 points nationally. And Trump is winning Asian voters by like 53 points. And the other category is like an 8-point win for Donald Trump right now. So when you look at that, Donald Trump basically shifts every demographic to the right from 2020, and this is the map you essentially get. You get Donald Trump essentially destroying Joe Biden on the national level. And when you model it out, even with the Asian vote looking crazy, you see that Biden is still only winning Hawaii by 10, which there's polling that shows, plus 8 Biden, plus 16 Biden. So a plus 10 result is not necessarily the most unrealistic. And yes, you guys do see that California, when you model out the demographics, actually does drop below 15 points because of the Asian vote. That is actually a pretty big demographic in California. And so the state actually votes for Biden, according to this modeling, by 14.7%. Donald Trump wins most of the swing states very easily, wins Florida by almost 15. He basically gets Minnesota by 4. He gets New Mexico by like 2.5. Virginia by 3.5, New Hampshire by like 2.5, and Maine at large is the closest state on here. He actually wins it by barely anything as of right now. And he's winning the swing states very easily in this poll. I'm talking about he's winning Arizona by 11. He's winning Georgia by 12.5 points. And what's pretty interesting about Iowa is that Iowa's a plus 18.1 percentage point victory. And the most accurate pollster in Iowa, and Seltzer, also has a plus 18 result out of the state of Iowa. We look at Maine at large. Donald Trump is up there by 0.4%. Minnesota plus 4. We see these are crazy margins for Donald Trump in this modeling. New Mexico plus 1. New Hampshire plus 3. Pennsylvania plus 10. And Wisconsin, like basically plus 10 as well for Donald Trump. Texas, 18.5 points for Donald Trump. New York is only a 10.5 point win for Biden. These are bad margins. And when we basically plug this demographic model into all of our, basically our models here at On Point Politics, when you plug it in, you get a completely different map here, which I'll fill out right now for you. Donald Trump is winning all of these safe states by a pretty decent amount. And this is assuming the same popular vote from our polls. So essentially, we see Biden won the 2020 sample by 5.4. When you do the actual math, Trump is winning the six-way race by 5.8 percentage points. So when you shift that 0.5 4.9 points to the right, you get a national popular vote up plus 6.7. And we had our aggregate, me, Gold Crown Politics, and Connor K had our aggregate at plus 6.6 percentage points for Donald Trump. So that is absolutely insane that we almost got that. Basically, it's the polls almost spot on with what our estimated popular margin is in the popular vote. And we see the former president go out there and just completely sweep Biden in these swing states. South Carolina, he's sweeping him. We look at California. That is still safe according to our model. He wins that by just over 15 points. Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, Vermont are safe Democrat. We see states like Hawaii get competitive in this scenario. We see states like Hawaii just get down to 12.5 percentage points right now. We see Washington, Oregon are getting into likely column. Connecticut, Delaware, Rhode Island. The state of New York in this poll, as of right now, in our model, is only an 8-point victory for Biden, which is absolutely insane. And we see that states like Maine's first are going to be in the likely column. Maine's second are safe for Trump. Alaska is safe. So we have a wide variety of states to play with to essentially be able to work with right now for the former president. And we see Donald Trump is winning in Nebraska second by around 3 or 4 points. Wisconsin by a lot. Michigan by a lot. Pennsylvania by a lot. North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. He's dominating the swing states, unlike what most media pundits will actually tell you. Colorado is starting to get competitive. The margin here is literally only 4.9 percentage points for Biden. New Mexico flips to Donald Trump from 2020 by 1.3 percentage points. New Hampshire by 1.7%. Minnesota, he's winning that by like 2.5. Maine at large by a little bit over a point. New Jersey's like around 3.5 points. And Virginia is actually the closest state on the map. I believe it's only a 0.9 percentage point victory for Donald Trump as of right now, which, funny enough, models out to be almost the exact same margin that we actually have right here. The only difference is certain states are slightly darker in their respective directions. Illinois is a little bit more Democrat, but Florida and California are slightly more Republican, and Nebraska's second and Maine at large are a little bit more Republican in my projection, and Virginia is actually a bit closer, which is quite funny. But that's what you get. You get a result that's very similar to the demographic modeling when you model out all the demographics from the poll when adjusted for an error going back to 2020. And for those of you who say, oh, well, what if it's a head-to-head matchup? Donald Trump literally only does 2 states worse. He loses Maine at large and New Mexico in the modeling for the demographics. He literally only does 2 states worse compared to the 5-way modeling for the demographics. So really, Donald Trump is not going to be losing a lot if it's only a head-to-head matchup. Donald Trump may actually be able to get over 330 electoral college votes based off of that. And guys, the debate, to be honest with you, I'm going to give some commentary over the debate, over the electoral map right now. The former president literally destroyed Joe Biden yesterday. Objectively, he beat him on presentation. He came across calm, collected, presidential, just like I said he needed to and how I thought he was. Biden, despite already having a low bar, actually he literally underperformed my expectations, guys. He underperformed my expectations as a pollster. That is absolutely crazy because I actually watched the debate completely live last night. And he basically underperformed expectations really badly. The CNN, exit polls has Trump winning 67 to 33%. The only person who's beating him on the first time, performance for a challenger going against an incumbent president is Romney, who did slightly better, which is crazy. And Romney didn't even win the presidential debate, and that's when we were less polarized. So that is absolutely insane. Trump's never even cracked 40% in a CNN snap poll. We all thought that Trump was going to be losing the CNN snap poll after the debate. And he actually did better there than in our sample, where he actually won the debate question by 16 points. Now, we didn't factor in undecideds and whatnot, which you could kind of sample that out and you could probably gauge what's going to happen there. But really, overall, Donald Trump is absolutely dominating tonight. Now, did he flip any single state after this? I really don't think so, unless the aggregate of polls comes out and shows Donald Trump leading by a lot. Because what's actually funny is that if they were to throw my poll into the aggregate, which was professionally conducted and weighed, by the way, for all the aggregate websites out there, if they want to include my poll, when you actually look into everything, if you were to factor in my poll into Gold Crown Politics' adjusted average, that would actually boost the average by quite a significant amount. And so would, for example, the RCP aggregate would go up massively for Donald Trump. And we did the head-to-head and six-way race as of right now. Now, they may not be able to include it for the five-way race because that's the aggregate they have, but it is what it is. My poll was cross-examined to 2020, just like the New York Times / Siena College poll did, and so should every single pollster do this. They should do it because it would save them a lot of trouble having to worry about a potential error. If you sample back to the previous election, you could have an idea as to how much you oversampled a certain demographic. And we show that we oversampled Democrats by about a point nationally. So for all these people saying, oh, Donald, On Point Politics has no proof for a Trump landslide. Oh, well, I just spent my own money to go out there into the field and get a national survey right after the debate. And Donald Trump is performing almost spot on with what we project in the popular vote as of right now. So if you guys did enjoy this analysis, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. I am going to be dropping a Cash App link for On Point Politics at some point for us to be able to go ahead and actually pretty much we're going to drop a Cash App so that you guys could be able to sponsor polling in the future. So all of that money in that Cash App would go just straight toward funding national polls and state polls. It would be a little bit better for me if that would be the case. So if you guys did enjoy this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.